Hi, I'm Elena. I work for Banner Health in Northern Colorado, and this video is to demonstrate how to put on securement devices for introducer cordis type devices as well as central lines. I have made myself and my environment as much as I could in the same manner in which you will be approaching this, albeit under much more sterile conditions. The things that you will need to have handy in your field, you may want your gel. If you've got dried blood, it helps get it off easily. You want your gauze to clean up. You may need some ChloroPrep. You may need some ChloroPrep, and you may need some skin protectant, or may prefer that to help create a barrier for better sticking. You also may need something to cup with, so the scalpel that you used may come in handy. So we've got a couple of lines in place. This is how they are normally placed in many of our patients. Two sites, your introducer up here and your central line below. There's gel and blood on the site, so the first thing I'm going to do is get that off of there. Don't pull your line out doing it. So he's not very dried up, but again, that ultrasound jelly packet that you have, if you've got some really dried blood, helps get the blood off pretty well. If you do use it, you would probably want to go back over with some chlorhexidine and let that dry to make sure that your site is as sterilized as it can be. Once you've got your site nice and cleaned off, you may wish to use your skin prep. The skin prep will help the dressing adhere, and it will also help it come off later by creating a barrier. The devices, securement device packages, which will need to be opened onto your field, come with this in them, along with the device. Once the site is clean, I like to put my BioPatch on first. Clean and dry is the ticket. If it is not dry, this will not stick. BioPatch goes on very easily before the stat lock is in place, and you want to turn the slit away from the catheter so that it does not nestle down in the slit, and you get the full 360-degree antimicrobial protection. The stat lock that we use for our triple lumen CVCs has movable wings, since there's several different brands, and doors to close around the catheter. These posts that move line up with holes on your catheter. It has a backing, much like a Band-Aid on the back. Do not take that off until you have the front part clipped to the catheter. It makes life much easier if you do it in that order. So you're going to come in here, and you're going to get those posts lined up. Sometimes, if one of them's fighting me a bit, I will go ahead and flip over and lock the other one in place so that I have a little easier time manipulating the second post. Once the second post is through the other hole in the catheter where the sutures would go in the past, I've got my device in place. Now, these openings are often not big enough to put these devices where you want them. So that's where something sharp like your scalpel comes in handy, because you may need to cut your hole a little open so that you can lay that nicely on your patient's skin. When you set up, you should have prepped a very large area in anticipation of this event. So I like to have a long enough catheter that I can have some of my catheter out and turn my stat lock down on the patient's chest. I do this even when there is not a second device in place, because it is much easier for the nurses to manage the cleanliness of it, or your vascular access team to do so. But you do have to have a catheter long enough that you're not pulling the tip out of the correct location for that little length on the outside. It is very important in any case not to completely hub catheters because that can cause skin injury. Now that we have the stat lock in place and for the CVC, and this material does not stick well to this gentleman, it will stick much better to your clean, dry patient. We need to put the one on for the HD catheter or the introducer. This also works for HD catheters. You can see that curvy line right there. Your your introducer will nestle down in there, and then you're just going to clip over it. That's what I'm going to do now. And again, this is going to be up on my patient's cheek a bit, and that's where my surgical opening, my fenestration, is in this dressing, so I'm going to need to peel that back a bit. It is way easier to do this than to try and push it up under there and maintain sterility. So this is going to come up under here. Again, do not pull the backing off the wings until you get your securement device on your line. And it'll go in just like that. See it nestling down in that hole? It does go all the way in. Once it is shut, there's a little button to push it down in there. So I'm going to come and clip that. So it is now clipped to my introducer. At this point, my nice, clean, sterilized patient, I can pull these ends off and position this device on my patient's skin. And again, there is a bio patch for this guy too. He has a bigger hole. It is easier to do this before you put the device on. If you forget, what I would suggest doing is opening the door, placing that around the device, again, offsetting the slit from the line so that you get full 360 degrees protection. Push your line in and close. At this point, you are ready to dress. And again, this guy is not made for securement device. He's made to practice, and his skin material is not as such that the device sticks well, but it does stick well to a clean, dry patient when you are putting them in place after a procedure. One more time, I do want to show you a little closer how these fit in the patient. So I am going to discontinue this guy's line so you can see up close and personal what I did here. The door opens and closes with a push of the button, and the line just slides right down in the device. Close the door, and again, do not peel the backing off the adhesive until your device is in place in the patient and you're ready to stick. So with this other stat lock for central venous access devices, it's a little different. It's like a girl's clip. The door opens and you can see the post that is slid to where it'll go right through the hole on the wing of the device, and you just snap it like that. Same action occurs on the other side. And once it is in place, again, with the catheter in the patient, you just peel the back and push the adhesive down. I hope this video is helpful to you, and I thank you for your time and attention.